Alright, I realized recently that I have never done a How Watches Work video. So that's what I'm going to do today. I have a solar quartz and a mechanical. I'm going to start with the quartz. So, how a quartz watch works. You've got a tiny little specifically cut piece of quartz that's wrapped in copper, creating a electromagnet basically, and then from a battery the electrical pulse is sent through the quartz, which vibrates at a mathematically calculatable rate. Now that rate is sent through a computer chip, which then fractions it down to 1 beat per second, which is where you get the tick, because after you get the 1 beat per second, that goes to a tiny little servo that every time it gets a signal, it moves once a second and keeping time. That's basically the entire concept behind quartz. It's relatively simple. You can add complications like moon phase, and you can make it digital. That's very easy to do. And it's all done with computer chips and very simple servos. There's one thing about quartz watches is, yes, they're very simple, but they're also very accurate. You can spend $300,000 on a watch that is specifically made to be as accurate as possible, and a $20 quartz at Walmart will keep better time than that. The reason people like me collect watches is not timekeeping as much as it is appreciating the mechanical nature of a watch that's only operated by gears and springs and levers, etc. When quartz was invented, pretty much the sales of mechanical watches plummeted, and quartz became the thing. And it stayed the thing because it's cheap and it's accurate, and you can make watches very complicated without doing a whole lot of complicated things by just using computer chips and electronics. This is a solar watch, which is a little different from a standard quartz, but not by much. Instead of a battery, there is a capacitor which charges when the dial gets sunlight. And that sunlight is converted to electrical energy, which charges the capacitor, and then that capacitor is used like a battery to keep the watch running. And that's basically the only difference. This is a solar Citizen Eco drive. This is made in titanium. Quartzes are also very thin. And this is a simple day date. And it's pretty much the only quartz watch I have. It's my doing stuff in the backyard kind of watch because it's titanium and it's solar. It's got a nice beefy strap to it. And it is the one battery-operated watch that I own. Now we're going to do the Do-It-Yourself Watch Club, DWC, where it comes as a kit, and you put everything together. You take the movement, and you put the dial on the movement, you put the hands on the movement, and then you put the rehot, which is this kind of silver piece right here, on that, put the case on, and then you put the crown in, and you tighten the back. And you have your very own watch that you built yourself. So, the principles of a mechanical watch. You can see that balance wheel running there. That is the end of a gear train that uses springs and a wheel to keep time, and that is the heartbeat of the watch. The reason a mechanical watch doesn't tick, it sweeps. What you're actually seeing is it tick about 5 to 8 times per second, making it look like it's sweeping, but it actually is ticking, just very small ticks. And that is for every single back and forth of this balance wheel creates another tick. Now, we start on the other end, and you have the barrel, which has the mainspring in it, and you wind the crown, which winds the mainspring and tightens it up, and then the release of energy goes through what's called a gear train that does absolutely everything that the watch does. If you have a watch with a lot of functions, you have a date, you have a moon phase, you have GMT, day-night indicator, all of those have to be part of that gear train in between the barrel and the balance wheel. And on the balance wheel is a smaller spring called the hairspring, which gives it the force to knock back and forth every time it hits its termination. That's a mechanical watch that I described, where you would wind it up with the crown. This is fairly common nowadays, is an automatic, which you do not need to wind the crown. This rotor has a weight on it, and every time the rotor spins, it winds the watch a little. And when you put it on your hand, it winds the watch up for you. This is pretty much what 90% of mechanical watches look like. And before I forget, I'm wearing the Schlein hand-engraved ETA movement called the Star. I just did a review of that recently. I accidentally deleted the original review, so I reloaded it, and it lost a few of its views, but at least it's back up. So that is my very rudimentary explanation for how watches work.